Hey, it's Lewis for Everything Alternative, 99x.com and HD2, sitting here with the star, director, everything of this documentary movie. It is Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Chris Bell, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good, good. Now, I watched the movie documentary the other night. Well put. I have one quick question, really, to set the tone for this documentary is, how does a well-rounded family, a family that goes to church 3 times a week when you're growing up, how do the steroids play a part in a good, wholesome, all-American family?
I think that part of the film is we call it Bigger, Stronger, Faster, the side effects of being American. And I say that my brothers and I were consumed by this idea that we have to be bigger, stronger, faster. We live in the only country that calls itself a superpower. When my dad grew up, his heroes were Mickey Mantle and, Roger Maris and guys like that. And when I grew up, my heroes were Hulk Hogan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Sylvester Stallone. The times had changed. The guys were big and ripped and muscular, and that's what we were looking at as kids, and that's what we wanted to be. So I think that it all kind of, it's not about bad parenting. It's more about a societal issue of, being these jacked superheroes.
All right, and you have one younger brother and one older brother, and your younger brother you call Smelly?
Yeah.
Do they still... I bet you your family is the only one that can call him Smelly. I wouldn't call him Smelly.
I think everybody calls him Smelly.
Really?
Yeah. He bench presses 800 pounds now, and people still call him Smelly. He's known as Smelly around the powerlifting world. But
and how did he get the name Smelly?
You know what? He always used to run around and sweat and stink up the place when he was a little kid, when he was like 5 years old. And we also used to call him Krusty Tooth because he had one, before his teeth fell out, he had one big crusty rotten tooth. And so we said, hey, you have a choice. Either it's Krusty Tooth or Smelly. And he chose Smelly. That's what the little brother always gets at. And then, I look at him now and I think maybe that's the reason why he used steroids for, the past 5 years. Was because we beat him up when he was a kid.
Right. When you have an older brother and he goes by Mad Dog, what is your name? Do you have a stage name?
Yeah, my nickname is Boar, like a wild boar.
Oh,
because
right.
My brothers would always say like I was short and stocky and would knock over a lot of stuff. So I was always the wild boar. My brothers were Mad Dog and Smelly. It's kind of like weird in the movie to be like, and I'm the boar,
right.
Especially, I don't want people to think I'm boring and take it the wrong way either.
Right.
It's a wild boar, not a boring guy.
Okay. Well, in the movie, you have celebrities from Carl Lewis to Jeff Taylor. Is it Taylor? Mm-hmm. That has HIV. That you let whoever's watching this documentary movie really take their own take on steroids. How did you feel when you were doing the Carl Lewis and the Jeff and you didn't get to talk to Arnold Schwarzenegger, which
I tried to,
but you did shake his hand.
Yeah, I shook his hand,
which is really cool.
Big bonus consolation. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Right, but he wouldn't get back to you on this?
No, I mean, we talked to his people several times. We got right to his publicist, and he has the same publicist that Stallone has, which is really interesting because she kept saying, look, the governor's take on steroids is very clear. And I kept saying, I have all this footage that says otherwise. I've been saying, we got to crack down on steroids in one interview, and then the next thing is handing a trophy to a big juiced up guy in his own bodybuilding competition. So we have to basically examine this in an intellectual way, and we can't have people speaking out of both sides of their mouth, especially when they're the governor of the biggest state in the country. So I just wanted him to make a statement on it. I wasn't trying to attack him or ambush him. He's still one of my heroes. I think he's amazing. I voted for him. I'll vote for him again.
Right.
I don't have any qualms about that. I think that he's doing a great thing in California. I just wanted to hear him say to me, hey, you're one of the guys that voted for me. You're one of the guys in the gym that I inspired, and here is my take on this issue, and here's how we can maybe help to fix it. And it didn't happen. But yeah, we interviewed a lot of people in the film, and I think that a lot of people were really brave, to be honest. My buddy Christian Boving, the guy that's on the beach all muscular and ripped, got fired from his job at Muscle Tech for telling me the truth about steroids, because they said, hey, Christian, we don't support steroids. And Christian goes, yes, you do. You sponsor the Mr. Olympia contest. It's a non-drug tested contest. So there's hypocrisy all over with this thing, and I just wanted to try to make sense of it because it was very confusing for me, and it still is. So you're advertising a supplement. So a guy like me goes and looks in the magazine, and I see Christian Boving, and I'm like, wow, man, I want to look like that guy. So I go and take Hydroxycut or some supplement because I think that I'm going to look like you, but what I don't know is that you were taking steroids. Do you have any problem with that?
That's a double-edged sword, my friend. How to answer this? Somebody looks at an ad with me in it and says, well, Christian Boving takes Hydroxycut, which I did, and I do. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't take something else. Mm-hmm. And if they choose to believe that that's the only thing I'm taking to look like that, then so be it.
Right. Well, with the Carl Lewis, he was really open. He he was really open on the steroid use. Everybody really. I don't know how you got. How were you able to do that?
You know, Carl Lewis, I should say, wasn't taking steroids.
Right.
Carl Lewis was sitting there on his high horse saying that, I've done, Ben Johnson beat me, and Ben Johnson's a cheater, and he's a bad guy. And then I basically whipped out a piece of paper and said, well, what about this piece of paper that says you failed the drug test for stimulants and that you shouldn't have been allowed in the Olympics? And he's like, well, it was a cold medicine. And they get into this whole thing. It was this, it was that, and blah, 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 blah. Enough of the BS. Let's get to the truth. Right.
Back in the day in high school, you won an award with Sony AFI Video Award?
Yeah, it was right when I graduated high school. I'm a total role model for any slacker in high school who's not getting good grades but is really funny, class clown kind of guy.
Right.
Because that's what I did. I was always like the class clown. I was playing football, powerlifting, doing all these things, and wasn't really concerned about my grades, which was stupid. I look back and go, oh, how dumb was I that I did not educate myself and during that time. But I think that a lot of that has to do with boring teachers and boring subjects in school,
right.
And the way that we teach, which is maybe a whole nother documentary. But yeah, I won an award basically because I went out with a video camera and was fooling around with my friends and shot a music video, and ended up winning an award that Francis Ford Coppola was a judge for.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 20 years old, I was in a community college at the time. I was flown out to L.A., and it was the first time I'd ever been to L.A. in my entire life. And I came out here, I'm like, to LA. I was like, oh my God, this place is beautiful. The weather's great, whatever. And I went over to USC, and first thing I saw was the cheerleaders practicing. And I said, this is where I'm going to go. This is going to be great. And that's where I ended up going. I ended up applying to USC Film School. It's a really difficult school to get into, but luckily, God was on my side, and I got in there, and going to church 3 times a week paid off, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, in the documentary, both of your brothers still on steroids, and you have tried it, but you are not because of the guilt. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. In the documentary, it was because of the guilt. I think that after making the documentary, my mind is kind of shifted a little bit. I don't feel like I don't necessarily know who I would be cheating if I was taking steroids. If I wasn't playing a sport. But the other thing is that you have to understand that in most cases, these drugs are illegal. So if I wanted to do it, I'd have to go to a doctor. I'd have to be monitored by a doctor. And I think that that's what's really dangerous. When we talk about kids taking steroids, we talk about even guys in the gym taking steroids. We don't know where they're getting it from. They don't know if it's clean stuff or good stuff. And all this stuff needs to be monitored by a doctor. So even if you say, hey, look, the side effects of steroids are maybe not as bad as we thought, it's the idea of that you have to go underground to do it, and it's shady, and it's like that's what's dangerous.
Right. Okay. Well, what do you want people to take away from Bigger, Stronger, Faster?
Well, one of the things I want them to take away from it is just that we live in a culture that preaches to win at all costs. And we have senators and like Senator Biden saying there's something simply un-American about this. And I look at it and go, are steroids un-American, or is there anything more American than doing anything it takes to achieve greatness in America? And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. Right. I'm just saying that that's a very American thing. And I'm not criticizing our country. I love our country. I think it's the best place in the world to live, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But I think there's a difference between healthy determination and a win-at-all-cost attitude. And so we got to try to find that balance. And hopefully people just start discussing it. And, I mean, that's why you make a movie. I mean, I think Michael Moore said it the best when he made Bowling for Columbine. He just said, I want to spark a national debate. And that's the thing we want to do, get the debate going, get people talking about it.
Well, you definitely accomplished that. The new movie out this month. It is Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Chris
much.
Bell.
Great.
I'm Lewis with Everything Alternative, 99x.com and HD2. We'll see you next time.